Howdy, this is David Mosberg with the Pocket Protectors. We're here with Piney Woods today to talk about personal finance management. As we open today, in our journey for personal finance management, we're going to talk about a few just very basic concepts so that you have a high-level overview of how it is to manage going through the process of buying your first home or whatever it is you need to do to make sure that you're taking care of your personal finances. So first of all, we're going to start with a quick drawing to help you to visualize the flow of money through a personal environment. So we've got some clouds up here, and those clouds are going to represent your income sources. Some houses have one income source, potentially just a job. Some have two working parents, and so we've got two sources of income coming in the house. Sometimes we might have another source of income, maybe a business that we've invested into, or perhaps the business that we operate every day. And so we have a third source of income coming in, and then we're gonna go ahead and see where that money's gonna flow. So the first place the money's going to stop along the way is going to be in your home. The most important thing to understand about the management of personal finance is this is up to you. So we like to say in your home, you need to have a financial plan. Now, we use the word plan because a lot of people don't like the word budget. The word budget sounds very regulatory, and a lot of people say, oh, there's budget and I don't want to stick to a budget. Well, this is how you take control of your personal finance. The ultimate goal of the plan is to do as much in advance as you possibly can. And the more frequently you do it, we recommend monthly, simply because most of your major bills are going to come in that cycle. Your utility bills, your mortgage payment, things of that nature are going to be on a monthly basis. So we highly recommend that you're budgeting every month, reviewing this information, and on a later chapter, we're going to talk about the details and actual get our sleeves rolled up, and we're going to work on your budget with you. So next up, we've got the family plan. So we need to understand how much money needs to come into the house so that we can manage the plan. So if we have $2,500 a month coming in here and $3,500 a month coming in here and nothing here yet, then we simply have a total of $6,000 coming into the house. And that's what we have to work with. And this is the first stop along the plan. Now, along the way, we're going to go ahead and make some additional decisions with what to do with any money that we have perhaps left over. And if we don't have enough money left over, we're going to have to figure out some ways to go ahead and initiate income number 3, or potentially make more money at job number 1 or 2 simply by picking up overtime if it's available, working towards a promotion, or other ways that you can earn income. But one of the best parts about being in America is the ability to get some work. Anyone with a leaf blower can go into any community that has wealthy homes in it, and you can make some money helping them out. There's always odd jobs to pick up, and there's always people hiring in our area. So please look at those opportunities if for some reason you're not bringing in enough money. So in the meantime, we're going to start the budget process. And so in your plan, we need to have things like your mortgage, your utilities, and other expenses that are going to be there, groceries. And one of the most important things that I like to remind people is it's super important to remember that if you plan on having a little bit of fun in your life, budget for it so you don't feel bad about spending that money. So let's go ahead and put entertainment in there. For me, entertainment is dining out. For other people, it might be going to the movies. Let's also make sure if you have children in the house, you're planning for sports and activities. And we shouldn't be surprised by that. One of the things that we'll also share with you on this video is we did some research for you, and we know that Christmas is coming on December 25th this year, so it can be part of your budget. You don't have to be surprised by it this year when it comes. Great news, we looked into the next 5 years, and it's also going to be on December 25th for all 5 of those years. So you could build that in your budget, where so many people in January and February are surprised by the bills, or even just simply disheartened by those bills, knowing that they bought these things, they wanted to give all these gifts, but they didn't save up for it in the process. So our ultimate goal is to understand now that we have a plan how to limit ourselves to what we can afford, and then also move forward into the savings process so we can buy things when our budget has to increase over the course of a regular month. But say we're really good stewards of our money, we are only spending $5,000 of our $6,000 budget, and that leaves us with $1,000 extra every month to do what it is we want to do. Now, this is where most Americans really do a poor job of managing that outflow. Most Americans figure out what it is they want to have some fun with, and they just simply spend that money. I really believe there's nothing wrong with that. However, there are several other buckets you should consider using when you're starting to deal with that extra cash flow so you can plan into the future. I'm going to show you a little bit now of what I think should be the next phase of the plan. The first phase of the plan was earning an income. The second phase of the plan is planning out your household expenses, including some fun money and a little bit of savings for holidays, birthdays, and other things that might increase your monthly budget. Once we've done that, if and when we have excess cash, we need to start making some decisions to control the future. This helps us to de-stress a lot of the personal finance journey along the way. Now, I like to look at this just like I used to look when I was younger. Back when I was a kid, they had these things called coins, and they were quarters and nickels and dimes. Some of you are old enough to remember that stuff. They seem to be going away these days and being exchanged for plastic, so you don't actually get to feel them. But most days, if I had any exchanges at a store, I went to the convenience store, I went to the gas station, I would oftentimes come home with change. And then I would put it into a change sorter. And the change sorter would move all of the money I just dropped in there into the nickel slot and the dime slot and the quarter slot, and it would fill up until those columns were full, and then I could wrap that money and take it to the bank and do something with it. So in the meantime, we want to operate the excess cash flow from our house the same way. We want to put it into our change sorter. Now, one of the things I highly recommend you do is build an emergency fund. So, we know emergencies may happen. The first emergency fund you should build should simply cover you for small expenses that would really put a detriment on there or force you to use debt to cover them. Things like a broken washing machine or dryer, things like a tire that needs to be replaced, things that'll cost a few $100. And the first fund should be somewhere around $1,000. The goal of that money is to simply realize that if we have that, we don't have to use a credit card and pay twice or 3 times as much of the product for the product because of the interest that it's going to take us to cover that. Once that's filled, then of course some of this extra $1,000 can start to go in other places. Now you may decide that you're going to go ahead and figure out a way that you're going to pick up $1,000 by just picking up some extra work and then just completely funding that real quick and be done with it. Or you may decide that you're only going to put $200 a month of your $1,000 there, and then you're going to start building some of the other categories out. Some of the categories should look like this: a vacation. Like I said, we shouldn't not have some fun, but we should plan for that so we don't run out of money. Our next spot may be retirement. If we're young enough, the earlier we start, this account starts to grow, and compound interest, which we'll also cover in a future video, is the amazing friend of ours when we're using it as an investment versus the bank using it to earn their income by buying us time. So next up, we might have additional investments. This may look at like us buying additional real estate that we're going to rent out. This may also look like us investing in a business that we want to start someday. It may look at all sorts of things. Perhaps it's an education course that'll help us to earn more income at the top over here. We'll go from there. If you have children, college savings. College savings is a great example of something that you may or may not use depending on what your children end up doing. Vocational school also does have a cost to it, a great way to get children into the marketplace sooner than later, if indeed they find something that they love to do. Plumbers and HVAC technicians earn a great living, and through vocational school, which is typically a little shorter than a longer college degree, is a great way to get them learning about how to manage their money and make some money in the marketplace, and typically it'll save you quite a bit of money. We'll also talk about college savings and how to pay for college in a different episode. So next up, maybe your next car. This is an area that I like to talk about because I really believe that car debt is not good debt. Unfortunately, a lot of us simply need to go that route to get started, simply because we didn't start at the end of this plan. We started at the beginning of the plan just trying to get by. And that's where most Americans are. But as we continuously work our plan, continue to develop the tools that we need, we can succeed, and then eventually Our next car, we're gonna buy for cash. I had the luxury of doing that. It took me about 4 years to save up. And I'll tell you what, the car buying experience was very different. I was at the car dealership. They showed me a few things. And on our way back, when I decided what it was that I wanted, which by the way, I knew exactly how much money I had to spend, we were on our way back into the dealership and the gentleman asked me for my social security number. And I said, well, what do you need that for? He says, well, I'm gonna hand that off to the finance manager. We're gonna get some work done in advance so that while you're going ahead and filling out some other paperwork for us, we'll see what we can do for a loan. And I said, well, I'm gonna write a check for this one. And not only did he kind of take a step back, because about 95% of his other sales all happened through finance, but then he also decided to buy me a soda and made our experience really nice after he found out we were paying cash for that vehicle. And man, I'll tell you what, when I drove out of that dealership, I didn't think about how much I could afford that month or what this was going to do to my future and how I was going to continue to get by. I simply wrote the check, I drove away, and I was done. So super important things. A couple of things while we're on that note, as we're thinking about this personal budget over here, as we're going through our household business plan, we also want to make sure that we're having good protection on the things that we're doing. So insurance should also be a part of that coverage. And then depending on your financial situation, you may need insurances now that you may not need in the future. A great example would be a homeowner's insurance policy that's going to cover things like broken dishwasher or mechanical failures like a plumbing issue in your home. And so you might get a home warranty that you might pay a few $100 for to help cover some of those. They'll typically have a small copay for the visit, but then if anything catastrophic happens, it doesn't put your house out of business. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do. And so as we go through this plan, our ultimate goal is, number one, in our personal financial management journey, is we want to kind of treat this just like a little business, the business of running our house. We're going to earn some income, we're going to manage that income, and then we're going to do some very smart things with the extra money that we can develop over time so that we can really live comfortably and have a lot less financial stress in our lives as we get into our new home. So thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope you've gotten a great deal of information out of this episode.